Can you remember the last time you bought a cassette? Some people probably watching this don't even know what a cassette is.
That
do you think?
Is sadly probably true.
It seems it's a trend that's been slowly dying out, with only 4,000 albums sold on tape in the UK last year compared to 83 million. That was at the end of the 80s.
From today, we're being urged to have our Walkmans at the ready. It's 50 years since the cassette was first launched at the Berlin Radio Show. And to celebrate, today's been declared Cassette Store Day. Bands from all over the world have been releasing their albums on tape as part of those celebrations, and Colin Patterson has been looking at all of that.
Time to rewind. The cassette is back. In the 80s, it revolutionised the music industry, overtaking vinyl as the way people bought albums.
Another 4 copies of Bruce Springsteen's ever popular Born in the USA.
And causing Cliff Richard to go roller skating in a shopping centre. Tapes were all but erased in the 90s by the CD, but fast forward to the present, and shops as far away as Helsinki, Tokyo and Buenos Aires are stocking up once again for the first Cassette Store Day.
He's going to be taken down to rough trade this afternoon.
Radio 1's Jen Long has helped organise the event and believes there are real reasons why things could turn around for the cassette.
Partly nostalgia, partly novelty, but a lot of it has to do with kind of the economic climate that we are living in. No one really has that much disposable income, and if you're a massive music fan and you want to start a label and you want to put out bands that you really love and you want to get involved with that side of things, then the cheapest way to do it is to start a cassette label.
Say a word and learn to believe it.
And acts are doing their part. Bright Light are joining the likes of the Flaming Lips by releasing an album on cassette today.
It encourages people to listen to things start to finish, so it's tricky to fast forward through cassettes. Much, you know, with the CD you can do that really, really simply, but it's much harder with a cassette, and I think it makes the experience a lot nicer.
At the AIM Independent Music Awards this week, there was a lot of fondness for the format.
My wife still keeps the cassettes that I made for her, and I've kept a lot of cassettes that people made for me, because you know that it takes forever to do it.
I hark back to getting my first Walkman, which was the size of a block of flats, and I used to lug it around and you'd buy a cassette and you'd put it in there and it would wear out and you'd buy another one and then buy another one.
I look at my cassettes longingly and think, I must get a new player. You know, some days I just stand there with a pencil just winding them all back, you know, back to the start, because I've got no way of listening to them anymore.
But now there is once again a way of buying them. Banquet Records in Kingston is one of the stores taking part.
You're never going to have lots of cassettes in this record shop again, though, are you?
Well, we'll see. I mean, there was a time when vinyl was thought to be dead, and that came back. Now we sell more vinyl than we do CDs.
What do you make of Cassette Day? Is this just a gimmick?
There's certainly an aspect of gimmick, but I think it's just fun. And if you replace the word gimmick with fun, it's a bit more what it's about.
And one of their regular customers is particularly excited because he's been listening to tapes pretty much on a loop since the 80s.
I let them have their a la carte digital stuff any day of the week, but I love cassettes. And the thing is, if you get a cassette and you put it in your Walkman, you can't really carry that many. So you have to keep listening to that same cassette, so you find all the gold in there.
It may be on a tiny scale, but unlikely as it seems, it could be time to eject thoughts about the end of the cassette. Colin Patterson, BBC News.
So, is there still a place in our hearts for cassettes and those lovingly crafted mixed tapes? Let's talk about it now with music journalists Matt White and Michael Randall from Leeds music shop Norman Records. Morning.
Morning.
Morning, both.
So, who's brought the cassettes in?
I have.
Funny that.
Come on. Talk. What is the selection you've got there? Are these new ones?
There's
are
all
they
sorts.
Old ones?
There's a couple that are coming out for this Cassette Store Day, one by Out the Drive-In, one by a band that I'll just call Messed Up.
Okay.
And then there's a few by a couple by Leeds bands. This one's Etai Kashiki, bit of noise rock.
Okay.
This is the Hookworms.
And rather
tape.
delightfully, you brought in.
Well, this is my favourite, really. Is
Yes.
you know, many of us of a certain age will remember doing these compilation tapes.
Yeah, well, I made that one last night, actually.
Last night?
As a gift from Matt, who's here to argue against cassettes, so I thought I would
Talk us a little bit through your choices that you've done, because there's from all over. I mean, there's one from 1966, The Avengers.
I always try to do some sort of little theme on my mixes. On this one, there's there's no two consecutive songs from the same decade. There's everything from the 40s to the 2010s.
Matt,
So, yeah, go on,
key
Matt.
question. Do you have? I'm going to give it to you because
Thanks.
do you have something to play it on?
No, I don't. Nobody has anything to play it on anymore. Do they? No one has cassette players.
A lot of people still do, you know.
One of the skills of making mixtapes, I think, was not just choosing the music, but managing to write everything on because there wasn't a big space. So well done on that.
Thanks.
But you're not in your studio, because you're a DJ. I mean, do you not have a? Is there no longer have a cassette player?
No longer cassette players. There's CD players, but they're not even used anymore. Everything is digital, and I think that's pretty much the case in most homes now. I collect vinyl as well, so I have that nostalgia, and I look back and I like the physicality. But with vinyl, you've got putting the needle on the record, hearing the scratches before the song starts, and I don't think you have that with cassettes.
Well,
you have the clunk of the play button.
Cassettes have their own distinctive sounds as
A
well.
hiss.
Yeah,
A hiss.
like I mean, there is a slight hiss, although obviously with noise reduction you can take a lot of the hiss off. And actually, if you've got a well-recorded cassette on a decent tape player, then it will sound, in my opinion, nearly as good as vinyl.
There's a lot of affection.
Better than CD.
There's a lot of affection for the cassettes out this morning. Lots of people sending us messages. I have a massive collection, says Jake. Michael says misses the days of cassettes and vinyls. Nothing like the sound of real music. Lots of them talking about this though. Sharon says I had loads. They were a pain. And you'll know about this when they got jammed and all the tapes spewed out. They weren't really great technology, were they?
I think they remain great technology.
Oh, come on, all that
they're
fiddling
not
about
without
with
their
the...
faults, but like I think a lot of technology nowadays isn't without its faults either. Like if you take CDs, then you know you got all sort of problems with when they get scratched.
Because manually you could
start skipping.
Yeah, because you could put a pencil in, couldn't you?
That was the one tool you had to have with a cassette. You had to have a pencil so you could wind it back up if it come out, and the skill was just getting it smoothly. Because if it went in crinkles,
you don't want it to go in twisted.
Now, Matt, are you slightly touched? I mean, Michael's gone to the trouble of he's put together a compilation for you. And in the old days, that used to take a lot of thought and effort, and you're thinking, and it takes ages, and you fiddle. I mean, isn't there something really sort of charming and touching about that?
There is, and it proves that someone's gone to a lot of trouble. If you make a mixtape now on CD, you're just clicking MP3s and you're pressing burn. And that's it. You don't have to sit there and listen to the songs. But with this, you have to choose, you have to get the vinyl, put it on the deck, press record and play, make sure you stop it, and make sure it fits in. Because with CDs, you know how much time's left, but with a cassette, you've got to kind of guess
What's
it
the
and
equivalent
judge
now?
it.
Do you like make a playlist and send it to somebody, or does it just...
Do you not make mixtapes anymore on CD?
No.
Oh, I should have brought you one. Yeah, but people do it on CD. It's just on iTunes. You can just select your songs, click burn, and then within 2-3 minutes, you've got this CD ready. But no love's gone into it. And I'm guessing love's gone into that.
Yeah, and you can still, on a technical note, quite a few people saying they've got nothing to play it on. You can still go and buy a cassette player, can't you?
Yeah.
Second hand, not in.
Well, I mean, like, I got my cassette player second hand, like from the local second hand store. It was about £10. Technics, double cassette tape. High-speed dubbing.
And a lot of talking
what more
books
could you want?
are on tape still, aren't they? We were saying a lot of people still listen to talking books on tape.
In the car, I think a lot of car stereos still have cassettes.
That's right.
Yes.
And so audiobooks are good for long car journeys, so people put them in the cars. But even car stereos now are all CDs and MP3 players built into cars.
Enjoy the
It's
home.
lovely.
I will
Michael,
do.
that's just lovely that you brought that in and spent 2 hours of your time for Matt, who clearly...
Who hasn't done anything in return.
Yeah, thank you very much. One of my favourite
okay.
messages we had. My last car purchase was 7 years ago. We bought a 2-year-old Toyota. What swung the deal? It had a tape player. See, people want them. Thank
Headlines
you.
coming
A lot
up.
of people still do.